Grand Rising, beautiful beings. Hey, brothers and sisters. Sorry for my baggy pillow. So, hold on. So, this morning we're going to do a little journal. I know this pen pretty much sucks. So, okay, we'll see how it works. But I just moved, so I don't really notice. Oh, back in like school, did y'all ever learn that trick where like you take the pen and you kind of blind it? Today is April 4th. It is Monday. So let's just break down day 04, 04, 22. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. It's a 14 day. It's not a master number, so it's 5. So 5. Today is a 5 day. Five in numerology represents the planet Mercury and is associated with the senses that we have. The 5 senses. So some of the things that I see about the number 5 is curiosity, freedom, change. Humanity. Some supporting um, like characteristics that I see is adaptable, independence of thoughts, action. And then it's one that says unwillingness to completely conform. And the first question that I have is that a good or bad thing? And, and good or bad is very subjective. But I guess what I'm asking is this unwillingness to completely conform, how does that affect us in the long run? So let's go to our notes about the moon. I really need to organize this. So the moon talks about the shadows. What do you want? So we understand that we have the free will to do whatever it is that we want. But when you're choosing to be a spiritual being, you really want to be very discerning about the information that you receive. Number one, you don't want to just listen to everyone. Number two, you don't need information about everything. For example, I know that we live in a world where, there are so many programs, so much propaganda, letting us know what's going on in the world. And there's really no way that I can stop any of this from going on. The only thing that I can do is control my reality and focus on what I can do today. I don't have control over tomorrow. So, what I choose to do is I do inform myself of the world, but once I've gotten the information, I don't need a daily check in. And I feel as though I do this to protect my own energy and to protect my own reality. You can pick and choose what information you receive and what information you do not receive. So, as a spiritual being, you have to discern what information do you want to receive. And a lot of times, our curiosity is so funny because that's one of the words that we wrote down today. Sometimes a lot of our curiosity can kill the cat. That saying talks about how a lot of times we can go and deep dive into finding out this information, but that doesn't really serve us in what we need at that time or like our lives. So it negatively impacts us and keeps us stagnant or keeps us hopeless, keeps us in a lower vibration. So I like to take the time to commune with God so that I know what is it that I need to focus on today. I already know my daily task that I need to take care of. Where do I need to set my mind? Where do I need to set my attention? Again, I can't control the world. I can only control the world that I create. And I'm not advocating for you to be ignorant. I'm not advocating for you not to be interested in different topics, but we do have to understand that there are distractions and then there is work that needs to be done. And if you're finding yourself if you're finding yourself like um, being distracted by information, but you don't see yourself um, making moves, doing things, then there's a disconnect, you know, that you have to reanalyze it. I don't really know why I went on to say that, but I guess the last side note I can say is that person, I'm thirsty. I guess I also want to apply that same reasoning to like tarot and stuff like that. Like a lot of this stuff is just a lot of information that you don't really know how to apply. And I'm hoping that when I show you how to use numerology and how to like actively apply this to your life, um, you, you no longer are just sitting there taking in information, but you're learning how to implement it and apply it to your life. I see like a lot of tarot readers, they're always like, take what applies and leave what isn't. And it's like, have you taught your audience how to dissect information? How have you taught them how to understand? There's one thing to listen, there's another thing to comprehend. So hopefully, um, you know, can learn a little more. So I always, just to get back to the conversation, every Monday I feel this deep inkling to come and commune with God and my spirit team because, again, the moon talks about our shadow selves. It talks about learning. It talks about um, the world that we're in, curiosity, like trying to understand our world in a different perspective. And I think so I definitely feel like for me moving forward, you'll definitely get a video on Monday. Um, but I kind of wanted to talk about why I started my spiritual journey. And I feel like this topic will be a topic I might always circle around to because as you grow through life, you just find another appreciation for doing certain things, having certain opportunities. So, with today being a moon day, with the moon being about your shadow self, um, and then with today also being a 5 day, and five talking about curiosity, freedom, change, humanity, being adaptable, being independent of thought, action, and the unwillingness to completely conform. These were all of the themes that surrounded me at the time that I started my spiritual journey. And um, I just remember, I don't, yeah, so I'm just gonna flow. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna flow. And I think I have about an hour on here. So I plan to be on here for about an hour. And yeah, I thought it was recording for a second. Okay, let me drink some water. And so, um, again, curiosity, freedom, change, humanity, um, being adaptable, independent of thought, action, and the unwillingness to completely conform. These were all the themes that surrounded me starting my spiritual journey. And I don't really like to talk about it as a spiritual journey. I really just like to talk about it as intentional living because I think that we're all spiritual beings. We just have to remember that. And I just think it's kind of like redundant to say spiritual journey when I personally feel that we came here to live, to use our five senses. Again, today is a 5 day, and it talks about our five senses. And I remember as a child, like my five senses would low key always be attacked. Like I had really bad allergies, which affected my eyesight and my nose. Um, One time I got very dehydrated to the point where I really couldn't feel like my limbs, like my phalanges and stuff. So as a kid, my five senses were pretty much always attacked. Um, as a kid, I feel like we all, as a grown child, I don't want to say kid, as a grown child, because these are themes that went throughout my life. Um, but I think Spirit is asking me to go a little deeper about my allergies. So basically, I would get styes. So those would be like really, really big, almost like boils or something like a, yeah, it would be like a really big bump on my eye to the point where it'd be closed and swollen and I couldn't see. And there would be times where I have to go to like the doctor and they would put like weird stuff on my eye and then it would be really blurry and it would be like constant. And I remember like um, a lot of times these things would happen when like I was separated from my mom. So, um, so I think that's enough about the five senses. So we can talk about freedom. Um, as a growing child, um, I think we all felt like our personal freedom was restricted. And I feel like the reason why my personal freedom was restricted was number one, I didn't have both my parents in the home. So times, um, a lot of my childhood required me to build trust, rebuild trust with people, um, and kind of just like be timid. Cause you know, like when you're learning someone new, like you don't know like what's going to be their triggering point, what's going to make them upset, um, things like that. And, really just reflecting, like I did have some pretty explosive behavior happen around me growing up. And so that blocked me from really feeling free because I felt like I always had to adjust like who I was, my behavior, what I wanted to say. Um, I always had to adjust that, and that took away from my personal freedom. Also felt like growing up, religion was very much um, like important in our home. And what I do, like the way that I live my life, I like I choose. It is very important to me to be in communion with God, but I understand that it is a relationship between me and God, and I don't need other people's perspectives or like their objective opinion implemented on my life. Like I can make my own decision. I just felt like when it came to religion or when it came to my parents teaching us that, it was a lot of dogmatic beliefs and a lot of hypocrisy um, going on because it was just like you you're telling me to do one thing, but you're not doing that yourself. And that's okay. Like I don't judge. Like when I say that, I'm not judging, but what I'm trying to point out is that you are using free will and I have free will. I'm not giving that up um, because someone thinks this is how I should live or this is my role. You know what I'm saying? So let me bring you guys up because they are cutting grass. So I'm cold. It's like springtime in Texas, and it gets hot, then it gets cold. It's like cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon, hot at night, cold in the morning. So it's just cold in the morning. So, anyways, um, I'm just gonna pause this for okay, back. Okay. So yeah, since a kid, I just always was very serious about my freedom, and I had already experienced like my five senses basically being under some sort of attack and having to be restricted from doing the things that I love. Like one thing that I really loved as a kid was going outside and looking at the butterflies, picking up flowers, things like that, and collecting them. So, but whenever like I would have a sty or like really bad allergies, or it was the springtime, it was pollen season, like, um, yeah, I couldn't do that. And that really took away from my personal freedom. The next thing that was on the list is humanity. 5 day is all about humanity. So, um, growing up, I just knew like there were certain social structures that I didn't agree with. Um, and I knew that I knew that people were really sad and really lost and like really confused. Um, I knew that like people were like kind of mean for no reason. Like for example, I had a teacher, and this is when I lived in Virginia. Um, I lived in Virginia and I had a teacher, and she basically was white. She was white, and there was probably like three Black girls in the class. And I remember that, we were being pretty disrespectful because we weren't paying attention. We were like on a field trip, and it was at this, it was terrible. It was, it was like at one of the first forts that they had built when the 13 colonies moved here. They still have the fort there and they still run it in that way. It's very awkward. Like that people choose to like but anyways, we were not really paying attention, which I mean, my God, why would we? Um yeah, there was also a cotton field that you could take a souvenir. Like, yeah. So, anyways, we were not paying attention, and she's getting our attention. And she says, "You girls need to pay attention. You're over there." This is the part where, like, the first part was cool. Like, this was the part where I expect an adult to say, you girls need to pay attention. This was the part where I understood that humanity was just like mean for no reason. She goes on to say, "You girls are acting like a bunch of hoochie mamas." And that's when I just knew like it was just so awkward because we were at this original fort of 13 colonies. I never really had any interaction with this teacher in this way. I actually liked this teacher a lot because I enjoyed English, I enjoyed writing, reading, like, of course. Um, and she was an English teacher. I enjoyed challenging my memory. So I didn't necessarily like history, but I enjoyed like the fact that can I remember? Can I remember? So she also taught that as well. And when I really think about it, I'm like, dang, I'm not gonna say that. But anyways, so when she said that, it was just kind of like, why'd you do that? You know, like why did you say that? What made you say that? And I just realized like people's environment really, really changes how they act, like their personality. And growing up in the military, I realized like, dang, like I be trying to stay like to myself and stuff. And just the person that I am, I pretty much do. But I find like the way that I talk easily changes and like the certain words I use easily changes. And the way I want to dress kind of like changes. And that's something else about a 5 day. It talks about change. So, um, as a child, as a growing child, becoming a teenager, young adult, um, these were themes that were happening in my life. And those were just examples that I chose to share with you guys. Um, so, what projected me into wanting to start living intentionally is because there was a point in time where I was completely done with change. And one thing that we should talk about is that change is good, but change also requires like chaos. It requires something to happen. That's why they say like there's rain before the rainbow, or there's clouds before the sunshine. Um, because during that change process, there's a lot of chaos, a lot of ups and downs, negativity, a lot of emotion. And I felt like a lot of my life since I was a kid was just so chaotic, like always moving. Um, I had two brothers, so there was always something happening in the house. Um, my mom, she was in the military, so she had to move. I mean, she had to like travel afar, and I wouldn't be seeing her or talk to her for like long periods of time. And so, like, our daily routines would change. The things that we ate would change a lot. Like, when I lived in Virginia, we would have like a lot of frozen meals. A lot of this, like, I cannot stand this meal to this day, but it's like chicken cordon bleu. Ugh, I cannot eat that meal because my mom would buy like these fancy frozen dinners. Like, how dare the Matrix? I will say that it was good quality, but it's just like redundant. There's no love. It's just made and wrapped in paper, plastic and shit, which is probably why I have this yearning to cook and stuff like that. But it was just a lot of change. And once I got to college, because it was like, even though like my high school life was still a little chaotic, like at some point I was staying with a friend. I don't know how this happened. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it would be so many changes, and I would always be adaptable to them. Like, but it was at a point in my life where I was just like, I am so tired of adapting to my environment, adapting to other people. Like, I want to just be me. Like, and so this is where um, five also talks about adaptability, independent of thoughts, action, and the unwillingness to completely conform. So my unwillingness to completely conform was always within me. Um, but I remember at the beginning, before I started my spiritual journey, my intentional living, um, because of this unwillingness to completely conform, I found myself just being stagnant, just sitting there. Like, honestly, I feel like there was a big chunk of my life where I was just the kid who sat still. They are not going to get up, they're not listening, they're not going to say anything. And this was probably the biggest attack on my five senses. I like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not. And I felt like in those times, I really did judge myself a lot. And if you ever go to my Instagram page, you'll see there was a post. I did a birthday post last year, and I talked about how I judged myself a lot and how like I used to push myself like to do things that I didn't probably didn't necessarily want to do, but I felt like, oh, I need to like I can't just be sitting here. So there were just all these things in my life that I was just tired of. I was completely fed up with. There was like one part of me that I was just completely fed up with. Then there was another part of me that wanted to go out and explore life. And that's where I feel like what today is all about, that moon, the shadow self. Like, that's where I felt like the shadow self was, or like some people call it the shadow self. Some people call it a demiurge. Some people call it your higher self. Um, and I also feel like I feel like all of us have a spirit team. So, like this demiurge of yourself, or this, however you want to describe yourself, whether it be the shadow self, the demiurge, the higher self, however you want to describe your spiritual being, your true essence, um, you know, that part of myself got very fed up and got very tired. So, there'll be times like obviously I got to live my life and go out and do things, but once it came down to sitting still, like I was just fed up. Like I didn't see the point in me really doing the things that I did. Um, and let me give like an example. Hmm. So for example, um, mhm, what So for example, mm, I don't know. I can't really explain it, but well, I have to explain it because that's the whole point of this video. So I would say at this time in my life, I just okay, let's just back up a little bit. You know that feeling that I was explaining where I was just kind of like completely fed up and like just sat still stagnant. So basically it just I can definitely remember like me getting to the point of like graduating high school and going to college. Like I understood that my mom, loves me and didn't want me to, like, she just is going to miss her little girl. But her lack of excitement really did affect like my outlook on like it really did have an effect on like my outlook of what was to come. And I just remember like just not really being that excited. And then due to like just life and the things that unfolded through that, like I just kind of was, I just didn't really have that zest for life. And that's where I just saw myself really trying to conform because it was more comfortable. I felt like throughout my growing up years, yeah, so I'm just going to try to speak as closely as possible so that we can get through the video. All right, so basically, I just felt like through my growing up years, I tried not to conform. I tried to stay adaptable. I tried to stay independent of thought. I tried to take initiative and like let's just briefly talk about action because five does talk about action. Um, like I was the oldest child. I had two brothers, so I just took a lot of initiative and like making sure the house was clean, making sure my brothers were good, trying to take care of homework and things like that. And at the time when I was a child, I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with it because that was something I wanted to do. That was something that I felt was important for my family to run. So it didn't affect me. But as I got older, I realized that it wasn't my responsibility. And um, it definitely played a part in once I became like a young adult, me not wanting to do anything, like just literally being tired, me being annoyed. Um, I just felt like my cup was literally empty. And I felt like, when I was younger, I had a certain connection um, with God, not only because my mom like made religion very important, but because I was constantly reminded that you know, God was here with me. Um, I could just see that God was real, but some people just kind of took advantage and profited on it, or I don't know, as a kid, I just kind of understood a lot of stuff. Like I just understood that religion isn't good, it isn't bad. It's just some people need it. And then there's some people who just independently have a relationship with God, with Source, with the universe, with cosmic energies. And I tried to honor that as much as possible. But as I got older, it just got harder and harder, just because it wasn't acceptable or I just didn't have the space to do so. So my throat is like itching, my ears itching. 1 second. Okay, so um, I think we've explained enough, or hopefully I've said enough that I can really divulge right now. But there was just a point in time where I kind of just, you know what, I don't get the point of this all. Everything sucks. Everyone sucks. Um, I guess at that point I'm just like, where does the silver lining really come in? Because I thought that once I turned, I thought that once I graduated, things would be different. I thought that once I got to college, things would be different. I thought that if I stopped going to college, things would be different. I thought that this and that and this and that and this and that. If I did this or that, it would be different. And, I think I've talked about, boot camp and all of that in my How Journaling Saved My Life video. That's on Instagram at Solus Rising. Um, and you'll know that it's my page because it just has an orange circle with a triangle pointing up. It says Solus Rising. So it's orange, Solus Rising with the arrow pointing up. Um, so you can check out that video there. So after all of that, um, that's when the spiritual journey began because I was like, listen, I want to be independent of my own thoughts. Like, I want to be free from my thoughts and I want to be able to think on my own. Okay. I want to be free from the intrusive, deceptive thoughts, all these lies that have been told, all these things that people have said and spoken over my life. Those anything negative, like I want those away. I don't want those to affect me anymore. Now I want to be able to intuitively think for myself and start to do things that are truly important to me, that truly fuel me, that truly make me happy. And I still want to be adaptable. I still want to um like be curious. I still want to make some type of change within humanity. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. And that's when my journey started. In the beginning, like right now, I feel like I'm coming to the end of that. I felt like I, I mean, we're always coming to new revelations. So I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm coming to the end of, well, yes, I am. What I'm going to say is that I'm coming to a point where I'm starting to really move in what I want to do. What I see needs to be present in this world. Like, I really do see myself doing that and moving in that. And I understand that some of the things that I've experienced aren't necessarily all like, sometimes I feel like I experience certain things in order to help other people because it's like, or maybe it's really just like my way of coping through it is feeling as though, like, okay, if I went through it, I can help someone else go through it, you know? So maybe that's not, I don't know. I don't know how you want to see it, but basically, I just feel like a lot of the things that have happened in my life, a lot of the things that I understand, um, a lot of the things that I went through, like, they're for the betterment of not just myself, but of the other people around me. And this was something that I had to learn in my spiritual journey, my intentional living. I just realized like I don't want to just coast through life. I don't want to just zombie through life. Like I want to experience life. I want to be able to enjoy it to the fullest, the little things, and the big, grand things, and the everyday things, and the human experience things. Like I want to experience it all. And that was something that I was able to see once I got to start exploring my own spiritual self. I started to realize like, whoa, we are really in like we're infinite beings. There's no possibility that isn't real, you know? And it's just mind blowing. It's really just mind blowing. And I guess I just always knew that life wasn't all about pain. Life wasn't all about struggle. And then life wasn't all about these made up things that are supposed to make us happy. Like, I've been watching this documentary about the 90s, and they were talking about beanie babies. And I remember as a kid, like, I did not like beanie babies. They look weird to me. Just like, what am I gonna do with it? Like, I did not, I did not like beanie babies. I did not, I mean, it's not like I didn't like them. It was just like I didn't have an affinity towards them at all. And in this documentary, I saw that there were people really tripping about some freaking beanie babies, fighting, killing each other, going to jail over some beanie babies. And I'm just like, I think my mom kind of like taught me about this because she always told me, like, when I was her firstborn. So she was like, when you have your firstborn, you're trying to see like what is the thing, like what do babies enjoy, what do babies like. And she talked about Barney. And she was like, at the time, and I was born in 95. She's like, at the time, like Barney was the rave. And so she was at a store getting some stuff for me. And she said that there was this little girl in the store and she saw this Barney toy. And I guess the mom or the parents, they didn't, they said no. And the girl lost it. Like, my mom was like, I don't know what came over this girl, but the way that she wanted Barney, I knew that she would never watch Barney. And I'm trying to tell you guys, I never watched Barney until I was like in high school, in middle school, just trying to see like what it was. And like, I guess that's like a really extreme example, but really not, of how like I didn't want to be fed by these outside sources on what was important because I definitely didn't want to act like that. I don't want to act crazy or like I can't go on without a freaking beanie baby or a Barney toy. And so as a child, I just was like, okay, so what is it that I want? And there was a part in my spiritual journey which I feel is very, very destructive, very, very like ineffective, very, very detrimental. Is this thing where, like, within the spiritual community, where they like make you hate Earth, they make you want to be somewhere else or be something else. And I'm not saying that those parts, like those something else's, are not you. But what I'm saying is that right now, where you are at, you are this being. So I just feel like at the beginning of my spiritual journey, it really pushed all of my energy towards my head and really going into escapism. Um, I think I will be posting this video I recorded about astral projection and how like I really use astral projection to escape reality. And I feel like at that time, spirituality was really advocating that like Earth was bad, Earth sucked, you don't want to be here. Um, these parts of you are way cooler than like this earthly part of you. And I, I just felt like engaging in that type of activity, it did push me to see like, whoa, I am. Because I will, and this is why at the beginning, I think I was pushed to say like curiosity kills the cat because I cannot lie and say like oh, I didn't ask to see, I didn't ask to know, because at those times, I didn't necessarily know about ancestors and spirit guides and things like that, but I knew that I could tap into myself and ask certain. So I guess I would say I knew more that there was like a higher self, there was a God. I knew that there was God, and I knew that I could um, commune with God, like with Source. I just knew that. Like I just knew. So I would just, at that time, I will say that my relationship with God was like my relationship with myself, my relationship with God was kind of like toxic in a way, because I'm just like, okay, show me. Okay, show me. Okay, show me. Okay, show me. And what I understand, God is all encompassing. God is all encompassing. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I would go seek information, go look for information, um, and at that time, I will say that it wasn't always the best thing to do, because, like I said, it was a lot of escapism. It was a lot of, I don't like the reality that I'm in. I don't know how to control my reality. So, therefore, I'm looking to see is what else out there, what else is out there. And I feel like the that saying curiosity kills the cat, like that's very, very important to understand, is like, how will this information affect you, you know? And at that time, there was a good and there was a bad. And I think, I mean, that's why I don't believe in good or bad. It's 11:11 right now. So that means, information portals, openings. So I will say that this is a good time to, really discern if you want to continue this conversation with me or not. Um, this is me speaking about my experience and just sharing, um, and hoping to create a community to where we can share and learn from each other. So if you do not feel comfortable with this conversation, if you're lost in the conversation, then, you make your decision. Okay. Great. All right. So I feel really great for saying that. So now I'm going to be able to speak openly and honestly. Um, so what I was getting at is that at the beginning of my spiritual journey, it was a lot of escapism behavior, because I just felt like I did not like my reality. I did not know how to change or create my reality. So the first thing that my human instincts decided to do was look outside of myself. And during that time, like I stated, I did astral projecting, which, you know, um, whatever. I did a video about that. Um, and I learned about, like aliens and celestial beings and the planet, which I had always been interested in since I was a kid. Um, what else? Oh, that's when also I started to learn about Africa. And it was just all these different things that were just outside of myself that I can definitely say are a part of all of us, all a part of our DNA, all a part of our story. but it didn't necessarily serve me for the part of the story that I'm in right now. And so, um, moving through my spiritual journey, that's when I had to learn to come back into self. And during that process of not like retreating back into self to where I'm like in um like where I'm it is kind of like that though. Like yeah, it is. So within my spiritual journey, like as a kid, like I said, I had to adapt to other people. And one thing that happened when I started to go on this course was just coming into myself and like really trying to understand myself, what I liked and what I didn't like, um, what was important to me, what wasn't important to me. And shoes, shoes, like I I just found myself at that point running away from myself. So, as you can see, like my intentional living journey, I went from just being completely over it to basically being within my head, just being within my thoughts, trying to understand things, to basically going into escapism. And, you know, I would do a lot of partying and a lot of going out. I had a boyfriend at the time, so I didn't necessarily have too many sex or intimate flings, but um, hmm, maybe I should talk about like sex in the 20s. Um, but I did like go out a lot and stuff. And then I just was like, there has to be more to life. And so I started looking outside of myself. Um, I also would start to look at my history because as a kid, we were really big on learning about history, learning about the civil rights movement, slavery, the inventors, um, the Black inventors, and things like that. So I always knew that people originated from Africa, and as they moved up and over and out, they just got lighter. Some people are albino. So I always understood these things. So even though I kind of like reflected back to it, I kind of already knew about it. So that was a part of my spiritual journey. And um after going through like all of that stuff, all of these transformations, all of this deep exploration, like what I keep seeing in my head is like the Eight of Cups and how like they're going on a journey. They have like a backpack, they got their stick, they about to go on a long journey. Like that was literally um how I felt during that time. And then um I guess I had to, like I was saying, come back into myself and be like, all right, so There was a point in time where you were trapped in other people's realities. You had to react based off of what they wanted, how they did things. Now you've been in a part of your journey where you know, sat still and went out and explored. So then in 2020, like we all experienced, I had to sit down within myself, think about it. Okay, what do you want? What programs need to be thrown out? What need to be downloaded? Like, how, who are you trying to be? What do you want to be? And now, like we've been discussing throughout these days, is now it's a time for action. Monday, Moon Day. Well, today's a 5 day. So that's action, that's change, that's moving. And then Monday is about your shadow self. So I think what we can all gather about what today is all about is within your journey, within who you are, what is it that you want to change? What is it that you want to change for the better good of yourself, for the better good of your reality, for your community, right? So I don't know, I was just directed to share those things about my spiritual journey, but let's go ahead and shuffle to kind of get an introspective look, maybe kind of like a little hint, a little direction on what we should be focusing on. Again, we just came out of the new moon, so if you need clarity, hopefully this will bring clarity on something that you received that you need to be focusing on during these 2 weeks that we're moving into the full moon. So we're gonna shuffle. I'm gonna pause because I need to pee, and we're gonna get that message out. So right now, if you could just focus on, oh wow, that's like releasing. Okay, okay, okay. So if you can focus, okay, wait. Do you want us? What are the two questions that we need to be focusing on? Okay, so the two questions that I got was what changes need to take place for your highest good right now? What old stagnant emotion needs to be released right now? What changes need to take place for your highest good right now? what changes need to take place for your highest good right So one moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so um, right now we're focused on what changes need to take place for our highest good right now. And before I push play again on the video, planting seeds. So before I started, um, I was directed to look at this old note that I had here, and it was a part of this writing I did. And what it says here is wanting to call it mine, ready to go to war for what is mine, but not having faith that they were enough to quench this thirst. That's when I realized it was my responsibility to find satisfaction and love within myself, within Source, Creator, taking my power back. And when I think about the question, what changes need to take place for your highest good right now? What I see or what I'm hearing right now is to find satisfaction in love within self. And as I was sharing my story about one of the many reasons why I'm grateful to have started my spiritual journey, um, I remember saying, like, I felt like if I did this, then a positive thing would happen, or if I did this, or if I did this, then something would happen. But, throughout all the different phases that I experienced, throughout all the different phases that I experienced during my spiritual journey, I had to find satisfaction with the information that I had, with the understanding that I had. I had to find satisfaction within myself, knowing that there's nothing outside of myself that is greater than me, knowing that there's nothing outside of myself that will make me happy or feel loved. It is only the feeling that I have within that higher self, having that connection within myself, within God, within Creator. So, what changes need to take place for your highest good right now is taking your power back and realizing that it is your responsibility to find satisfaction in love within yourself, which is of God. You got Queen of Cups here. reflecting. What old stagnant emotions need to be released right now? Knight of Pentacles reverse. I the way I read this is thinking that something is outside of yourself is more worthy than who you are. Like the way he's looking at it, I feel like it's just like, this is awesome. Like, nah, you're awesome. But let me keep going. Yeah. So, what old stagnant emotion needs to be released right now? The unwillingness to completely conform to who you want to be. The unwillingness to completely conform to who you want to be. A lot of you guys know exactly who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. And you're not doing it because you feel as though so many other people are doing it, or it's a gimmick, or I don't know. So like a lot of you guys have this energy like, if I'm not the best, then I'm not going to do it at all. Like that's messing up your wheel of fortune. That's messing up. It's not about you being the best. It's about balance. It's about something greater. Love. Don't allow your ego to distract you from love. And a lot of times your ego reflects your family traumas, or like your family voices, or those negative things that were said. This can also stem from an imbalance within the feminine energy. Yep. The Empress card and the Star card in reverse. So a lot of times our egos are rooted from this imbalance that we have within our feminine energy, where we feel like, oh, if we're not the best, if we're not the only, then we're not doing it. If it's not my way, it's the highway. And then for some of us, that feeling of just the unwillingness to be who you are, like because you feel as though it's just a gimmick or fake. I don't know why you think that you're fake. You need to work on that. You need to work on your confidence. You need to work on spending more time within yourself. But, just because a lot of people are doing it doesn't mean shit. But this ego, the ego will fuck up your fortune. You're not going to do it because you're not the best, or you feel like you're not going to be the best, or a lot of you guys don't even understand that if you are to if you were to go ahead and start doing that thing, you'd be treading a new path. You'd be starting a new path. You may not be the best, the king of it, but you would be starting something new. You bring something new, create a new path. We really have to do a video about feminine energy. I know that's something that I'm interested in talking about and exploring. But we'll save that for another day. So, what changes need to take place for your highest good right now? What old stagnant emotions need to be released right now? I I think those are two great journal prompts that you could do, and hopefully, the shuffling helps someone. Um, I feel like a lot of you guys are going to be interested in the feminine energy talk. The Nine of Swords came out, and I'm are needing that information. So I'm really going to like reflect and make sure that this video was I guess this video ultimately was about the journey of curiosity. Like, curiosity kills the cat, but it has like 9 lives. It's funny, this Nine of Swords came out. And maybe the cat really represents perspectives. And how when you go and you look for different information, more information, you kill off these cats, these, I'm sorry for the cat lovers, but these perceptions. All right, so that's all I got. I hope this video um, helps in some way. I love you guys so much. Um, yeah, I'll just have to end this because I'll just keep going and going. So I love you guys so much. Have a blessed day. Peace.